Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show on the Widu Radio Network, WIDU 1600 AM and 99.7 FM. We're glad you're with us. Sit back and stay tuned and enjoy today's program. And here's your host for today.
And good morning to you. I hope you're doing well out there. It is 67 degrees, sir. Mr. Producer. Look, man, look. When I was walking down this morning, I almost needed a sweater, man. It was, but it was nice. I like it. Look,
I'm loving it, man.
If I got to take that versus that, I'll take what I had this morning.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, really nice out there. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. High of 87 today, so still it's going to be a great day. And so we're happy to be on the planet and still alive. And I'm going to take some calls from you today. If you want to chime in to our calling on today, 910-483-6111. So, you know, you have an opportunity to give us a shout out there. Appreciate that. And so going to be talking about a number of things. We're going to lead off talking about data centers. Okay, all right, yeah. Data centers. That is consistently on our calendar. That's what's in front of us now. We can't, without a doubt, but the whole data center debate is there. And look, it just got more interesting. Should I say, did it get more complex? Or should I say, did it get more nastier? On Sunday, President Trump said, look, he said, I think it's a mistake to be rejecting these things. That's what the president said. And you know how he is, people suffering from Donald Trump syndrome. Whatever he said, you know, they're going in the opposite direction. So all you people in here in Cumberland County, in Fayetteville, those of you all that oppose the data centers, the president said that you're in the wrong, you're making a mistake. Now, I know that's going to change you all's minds, and you're going to flip, and you're going to go the other way, but I'm just telling you what he said, okay? But no, you know, on a serious note, though, look, I got it, but I think there's a lot of overplay with that. Now, some of the studies, the polling, they say that 70% of the people in America don't like them and don't like them. But you know, man, it's hard for me to believe polls now anyway. I mean, they do all this polling stuff, and they be wrong about a lot of stuff. The last two presidential elections, they said it's going to be, the last two ones that Trump was in, they said it's going to be a landslide the other way. And it didn't turn out like that. Not even close. So, do I believe the pollsters? So, the pollster, and you know, I was reading this thing, but it didn't say who did the poll. They didn't say whether or not it was a Harris poll or who did the poll. But it said 7% of Americans don't like data centers, and 48% of them really don't like them. So, I guess they might be hovering around in our community here. So I would say, you know, that I got all of that, but you know, I'm beginning to feel a certain way about them based upon the information that I've been attached to. I believe there are some bad ones, but I believe there's some good ones too. And why shouldn't we reach out and embrace the ones that are good for us? That's my question. I mean, why wouldn't we do that? I mean, it's not like we don't need the money, because we do need the money. So now, is it going to create a whole bunch of jobs? No, but the money associated with them is going to be huge. And I tell people, some people say, well, you know, I don't want them, but look, man, you're going to deal with them either way. I mean, they're going to be somewhere. Look, even now, do you realize when you get your taxes done, the person analyzing your tax forms and everything is probably not even in America? Really, they're in another country. They farm that stuff out, man. So data centers are going to be on the other part of the world, and then we're going to be doing that. You know, so if if I'm calling the 800 number for something, and someone said, "Oh, my name's John," I said, "Okay." I asked him, I said, "Exactly where are you?" "I'm in Philippines." He said, "I'm in Taiwan." So I mean, and that's the way the world is. I mean, you're dealing with something now. I don't know why we don't have call centers here. We used to have a call center downtown, and I don't know what happened, but people are farming these things out to other countries, and so when they're out there, you're gonna be talking to somebody, and I believe it's the same thing with AI. So some people say, well, but look, artificial intelligence is an integral part of everything that we do now. So hospital stuff, 911, these readers off of they read the license plates and stuff like that. Police is using it. Our medical professionals are using it. I mean, I don't see how that you're going to get around that. Of course, I think that a couple weeks ago, the mayor and a couple of members of council and some of his staff, they made a trip to Virginia because I believe Virginia has more of them than anybody. Second is going to be Texas, and I'm reading about it. One prospective data center developer pulled out of Raleigh, according to the News and Observer on last week because of the opposition. So if you're opposed to something, then they don't want to bring it there. But from what I understand, I don't know what it looks like in people's minds. But from what I'm told is that when you're driving down the street and you see these nice office buildings with the glass and all this other stuff, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And then, you got these people say, "Oh, man, it's terrible. It's going to be look, it's going to hurt the black community. They're going to put those in the black community." Well, don't believe that's going to happen, but based upon what they're going to build, it's certainly not going to look bad in the black community. I mean, shiny brick buildings with a lot of glass that look like they're some kind of state-of-the-art corporation. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. But then I think, it's all the fear-mongering. So you got people out there. I know this young lady. I really respect her. And look, I respect some of these people and their opinions about everything. Look, so don't think that because people don't agree with you that they're your enemy. It's just that I happen not to agree with some of the tactics that they use to try to get what they want. I mean, now look, I'm willing to follow anybody if you lead me in the right way. I go back to my time in Southeast Asia, man. It was May 13th. Last battle in Vietnam. Whole bunch of people get on helicopters and everything else. I didn't get on the helicopter that crashed. And 26 of my colleagues died. Their last names on the wall. But I never forget, man, I had this sergeant, a black guy. Had a real thundering voice. And, during that time, we 18, 19, we had attitudes. But, he was so big and, he was how he was. I mean, I was scared of him, you know what I mean? I mean, I wasn't scared of him for the good. I just scared of him in period, you know what I mean? And he said, "Look, I know y'all going to take care of me because I'm going to take care of you." He said, and I'm willing to follow him because, man, he had been there. He had all them stripes on his shoulders. He had been shot at before and all that other stuff. Hey, look. But my thing is that I apply that to life, too, in my life now. People that want to suggest things and or say to me and others, "You didn't follow us. We know what we're talking about. We doing this, and we doing that, and we doing the other." And I'm like, I want to look at your resume because I want to see what have you been successful with and about what. Because some of these folk, they talk a big game, but they ain't never done that. Now, even some of them have been elected before, and that's okay. You were successful at that, but what did you do? I just want to know, what have you been successful with and what have you been able to accomplish? 910-483-6111 if you want to join in on the conversation. So now you have one thing that bothers me about the whole data center thing when it comes to African Americans, they said, oh, it's going to hurt the black community. Okay, I got that. I saw something the other day ago where somebody was actually saying, man, these white people, they got these data centers, they're bunkers, man. It's going to be a race war, and they're using these data centers as bunkers to protect themselves. Bruh, they would come up with some stuff. And my point is this right here. So you just believe anything. I mean, because they just toss anything out there and tell you it's like this, and you just drink the Kool-Aid. Now, there's no way I'm going to believe that. Because they come up with stuff all the time, you know. I mean, it's like, well, I remember when I was a little kid, and I could remember back that far. The first time I remember a presidential election being discussed in my house. And, you know, but back then, that was the thing was, if you're listening in on parents' discussions, you better act like you're not listening. You see what I'm saying? And you can't repeat anything that was said, and you can't ask any questions. So, you know, those of us in my baby boomers, we know, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But I remember them saying, Barry Goldwater, you know, was a senator out of Arizona, and he was running against Lyndon Johnson. And they would say, oh, man, we can't let Goldwater get in there, because he's going to send us back to Africa. He's going to send all the black folk to Africa. So, you know, the only concept I had of Africa, when I was a little kid, you know, I'm sitting there watching black and white TV, and you had Johnny, whatever his name was, he was an actor. Yeah, right. Yeah, your white splitter. He playing Tarzan, and so in my mind, I definitely don't want to go there, because you had probably white people in blackface, not real black people. And they were running around, and they were all ignorant and everything. And this one white man was running the whole continent by himself, swinging from trees with Jane Boy and his little chimpanzee friend. You know what I mean? Cheetah, right? So, you know, but how would you know? You're a kid. So I believed that. I said, oh, my God, you know. But then, you know, they made a mistake. They taught me how to read. So when I started reading, I'm like, oh, my God. And look, and they have continued to, folk have continued to do that all the way up to Bush 43. There were people that were actually saying that in 2000, the year 2000. If you elect this man president, he's going to send y'all back to Africa. You see what I'm saying? I mean, okay, all right. I'm just saying, look, the fear-mongering is just, come on. So, okay, I believe that there are some real issues when it comes to data centers, but I believe that there's some good ones too, and we need to find out what's going to be good and a good fit for us. And I know there's some people out there that are saying, I don't care what you say, I don't want them at all. And I got that. But some of them are older, like I am. And look, how much longer are we going to be here anyway? Your last name is not Methuselah or nothing like that. So, you know, you ain't going to be here but so much longer. Let these young people make a decision about this too. Because they're the ones that's caught up in this technology and this AI stuff. It just, hey, I mean, I don't see how we can get around this. Look, matter of fact, if you're watching me right now on Facebook, okay, if you listen to this radio station, don't think that it's not supported by the whole digital world. That's what the digital world does, you know. And so, you know, we got to understand that that's the way things are. Now, I have sympathy for you and everything, but, you know, we talk about the water. They say they have some data centers that don't even use water. And they have some that use very little water. So how does that work? Well, so much for data centers. But speaking of water, so now PwC is proposing a hike for 1 year in your electricity bill. Those you all to get your electricity from PwC. Now, everybody in Fayetteville don't get their electricity from PwC. There are people within the city limits. Some of it is Duke Energy straight. Some of it is South River. Some of it is Lumbee River. And some of it's PwC. So there are 4 different ways that you can get electricity. But see, here's the deal. Everybody is getting their electricity originally from Duke. Duke is selling their electricity to these other entities, and they're passing it along, to include PwC. Now, what happened at PwC, they're saying that they have a surcharge of $18 million. And they're trying to get back $13 million of that. And what they're proposing is to increase people's bills by $1.27 a month. And if they do that to their customers for 12 months, they can recoup $13 million out of that $18 million. So that's what they're proposing, you know. Somebody says, well, it's not that much, but you know, understand, when you talk about a whole bunch of stuff over an extended period of time, that can turn out to be, you know, quite a bit of money. It is. So I guess the question is now, if data centers are in North Carolina and Duke Energy is providing the electricity to them, I don't care where they are we going to pay for it anyway? That's the question I have. So if your reason for saying I don't want a data center is because I don't want that to be on my electric bill, whatever. Now, I'm sure everybody heard about the coal ash. Do you know that all of us are paying for that? I don't care if you have PwC or you have Duke Energy Direct like I do. I have Duke Energy Direct in my part of town. But, bruh, they passing that along to us anyway. And they did that. They did that, created that mess, and they passed the cost along to the consumers, which is us. That's what they're doing. So is that fair? I mean, don't seem fair to me, but my point is this right here, though. They ain't going to take the hit. They're going to pass the cost along to us anyway. They are. That's what's going to happen. They're going to pass the cost along to us anyway. And you know, and for y'all that love Facebook and y'all be making up them little pictures to send your friends and everything else, you all up in AI. And I mean, now somebody said, well, you know, I'm shutting everything down because I had one. Somebody say, look, I'm only going to use a landline or whatever. I'm not sure you can use a landline now, and it still not be connected to AI in some kind of degree because people aren't using coaxial cable. Coaxial cable is the metal cable that they use, but everything is now that fiber optic stuff. So you still dealing with the high-tech stuff. I mean, it just, you can't get around that. So make it make sense, man. You know what I mean? So, look, don't get mad. And when you go downtown, and you know, and I agree with the mayor and the council down there now. Now, look, you don't need to be sticking your finger up and tell them to F you and all this other stuff. Because I do believe now, you doing that, this is how I feel about it. I believe they need to have the police waiting on you when you get out the room. And they need to deal with you. Because that is disorderly conduct. You're doing something that could lead to someone really acting ugly. And that's what I believe you need to do. They need to grab you, and once you get out the door, and march you over to a magistrate and let them handle you. That's my take on that. You know what I mean? I mean, I just, because I think that's unnecessary. Now, all this time that we've seen with Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy and Malcolm X and everybody, nobody went to that extent to get us out of segregation and everything else. They didn't go and try to disrupt a meeting They didn't do that, Reb. They did not do that. They didn't try to disrupt the legislative process. And that's what these folk want to do now. Anyway, we'll talk more, because I want to talk a little bit more about the legislative process anyway. And my peoples, well, look, we'll be back for more. If you want to chime in on the conversation this morning, the number to call is 483-6111. Inside of the morning show on this Tuesday, August 25th. We'll be back for more following this.
Point University poll is painting a different picture of North Carolina's U.S. Senate race, showing a smaller gap between Democrat Roy Cooper and Republican Michael Whatley than other recent polls. There was a tanker hit overnight in the Strait of Hormuz near Oman. Canada will announce retaliatory tariffs against the United States. President Donald Trump told Canadian leaders to fall in line or face consequences far worse than existing tariffs. Community leaders from across the Blue Ridge Parkway corridor are coming together this week for the third annual Blue Ridge Rising Two-State Summit in Asheville. Hurricane experts are tracking two disturbances in the Atlantic for potential tropical development, one near Bermuda, the other emerging off the west coast of Africa. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Fayetteville Cumberland Parks and Recreation says they are excited to open the newly transformed courts at Tokay Park. Join them Wednesday, August 26th at 9 a.m. for the ribbon cutting and the debut of 10 pickleball courts and 3 tennis courts. The courts are freshly painted and ready for play. Join the city for a stormwater education workshop. This is August 26th, 3 until 4 p.m. at Fayetteville City Hall at 433 Hay Street in Fayetteville. Learn how to prevent stormwater pollution, avoid potential violations, and protect local waterways. Get practical tips for managing grease, waste, and chemicals, all designed to help keep your business safe and compliant. If you've been thinking about adopting a pet, now is the time. Cumberland County Animal Services has waived adoption fees through Saturday, August 29th. That means 0 adoption fees for dogs, cats, puppies, kittens, and other animals waiting to find their forever homes. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
This Tuesday morning, starting out with a breath of fresh air. Things feeling really good out there as we go throughout the rest of our Tuesday. We'll see temperatures make it into the middle to upper 80s this afternoon under a mainly sunny sky. Overnight, it's a mainly clear sky. Temperatures will drop into the low to mid 60s. Wednesday, a warmer day with highs in the upper 80s and lower 90s, and a stray shower or thunderstorm heading into the evening. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
My name is Ron Ross. I need your vote for County Commissioner. If elected, I will focus on what truly matters, you, the people. Budgets will be transparent and efficient. I will support policies that create good jobs while protecting our natural resources. I will keep the voters' message strong. We want results, not continued broken promises. Vote Ron Ross, County Commissioner. Paid for by the committee to elect Ron Ross.
You ever notice how most helpful information always seems to show up just a little too late? Like, oh, the deadline was yesterday. Or,
you know you could have saved money if you've done that earlier.
Timing matters. With smart timing, you can lower your energy costs by running appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers outside of peak hours. And by adjusting your thermostat just a few degrees higher between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, you can save even more. It's a simple shift that helps reduce strain on the energy grid, supports a more sustainable future, and keeps power reliable for everyone in our community. Because at Fayetteville PWC, we're committed to being environmentally responsible, dependable, and deeply invested in the place we all call home. Timing matters, and smart timing means savings. Learn more at startsaving@faypwc.com.
This morning, starting out feeling nice and comfortable out there, and that's something that will continue to feel throughout the rest of the day today as temperatures climb. Early morning temps are in the 60s with afternoon highs in the mid to upper 80s under a mostly sunny sky. The sky remains clear as we head into the overnight with temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Wednesday, a hotter day, highs about 88 to 91 degrees, and a stray shower or storm possible heading toward the evening. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
As the summer heat churns on, the Fayetteville Fire Department would like to remind you to stay cool when possible. Take extra breaks when working outside, and always stay hydrated. Some people don't think about it, but if you're only drinking water when you're thirsty, you're doing it wrong. Signs of heat injury can sneak up on you, so stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay safe, Fayetteville.
This is Carrie Sutton, past Cumberland County Board of Education member and chairman. I'm proud to endorse Charles Evans for Cumberland County Commissioner at Large. Charles understands the needs of Cumberland County. He has a heart for fairness and opportunities for everyone. He has shown real commitment to equitable reasoning budgeting, strong public service, and honest leadership. Cumberland County, join me on Election Day to vote for Charles Evans, Commissioner at Large.
This is Charles Evans, and I approve this message. Paid for by Friends for Charles Evans.
And we're back for the second hour, about 25 minutes for the top of the hour. If you choose to join in with us, that's 910-483-6111. So, you know, and this is the thing right here, look. Because everybody talks about this now. They talk about transparency. Oh, you know, you got to be transparent. You know, and they said, we demand transparency. We demand transparency. Well, now look, if you are demanding transparency, you need to be transparent yourself. That's how that works, you know? So, you know, it can't be a situation where I'm froze too. You're not transparent. So you have to be transparent now if you're calling for transparency. And it's not. No one is being mean here, but here's the deal here though. Look, if you calling for transparency and then you have your whole life wrapped up in that window tint that you can't see through, that's simply not right. It's not fair. I mean, you know, you can't do that and call yourself down with things. No, that's right. I have a problem with that. I mean, who wouldn't have a problem with that? And it's obvious for people to see. So, but again, though, if you're trying to get something done, you do not have to go protest with it all the time. You don't. My little time there, back and forth to the General Assembly in the late 90s and the early 2000s, I saw this. And I found it just to be very interesting. There were people that would come up because they had what they call Legislative Day. A lot of people would come up to see the legislator. Now, I'm just going to be straight up with y'all. I saw a whole different kind of behavior when it came to the race of the person that was before the legislator. I remember one time when a number of these bikers wanted to have no helmets. They wanted to ride without helmets. And there's a mall area up there. They was up there. They was, lobbying the legislators. The legislators voted against it. But what impressed me was how they conducted themselves in advocating for it. So they lost the battle, but I thought that the process with which they went about it made sense. At the time, I was working for Alma Adams, and when you're someone's legislative assistant, when they are chairman of a committee, you actually become the secretary of that committee. And so she was in transportation, and she was co-chair. So I heard all the meetings, and now at the end of the day, the data will support that if you're riding without a helmet, if you get on a bike and you get killed, it's not head injuries. It's not. That's not what kills people on motorcycles. It's not. Because that's why in South Carolina, they don't have a helmet law there. I know they don't have one in California either. But there are people, oh, no, I was talking to this one legislator, and I'll leave that name out of it. But there was a member of the Cumberland delegation. And they were a member of this transportation committee, too. And they said, no, I'm not gonna vote for that. And I said, well, Madam Legislator, actually, the data shows that the helmet sometimes can cause an accident. So the helmet is latched right here, and so you have tunnel vision. So if you got mirrors, yes, but a lot of them are going to be looking left and right, and when they look back forward, somebody done stop real quick on them or something like that and cause them to have an accident. So that's an issue too, because you have blind spots. I don't care what the data shows. I don't like it, and I'm voting against it. I said, okay, well, whatever, And that's but that's the attitude of some legislators. I don't care how much information you put in front of them to dispel something. They have their mind made up. That when they got out of bed that morning, their mind was made up. And I don't care what you say, you're not going to get them to think a different way about this. And that's so much of what it was with that. So, man, they was up there, and some of them looked like they had on jeans that they hadn't changed in the last 6 months and everything. But at the end of the day, they were lobbying, and they did it in a methodical way that made sense. My people that come up there. Now, I never saw a fraternity. I'm not saying they didn't, and I'm not saying that they don't. But I never saw a fraternity that came up on Legislation Day, but I saw sororities, but I didn't see fraternities. Now, I'm being black specific now. I'm talking about black folk. And the only thing they wanted to do, brother, was a photo op. I'm just telling you, look, I'm not being mean. I'm just telling you what I witnessed. And I don't believe anything has changed. That's why I ask people, I say, well, look, when these politicians come to town, I don't care who they are, what side they're on, or what party they're in, and I go into social media and I see you smelling, you got these pictures with them and everything. I say, do you ever ask them any questions? Do you ever ask them anything? What do you do? That's the challenge I have. So I saw Miss McAllister, who was an older friend when she was living, and worked with her a lot too, for a good over 20 years doing various things as a volunteer and even also as a paid employee. She said, Troy, this guy, he was a white guy, she said he had a district out in the western part of the state, but he had a lot of black people in it. And she said, she asked him one day, she said, well, legislator so-and-so, what do you do to keep your African-American constituents happy? And she said, Mary, I don't have to do anything. Said, I go to their church every cycle, every 2 years I show up at their church, and they have me say a few words, and they treat me nice, but they don't never ask for anything. They don't ask for anything. And that we got to get out of just getting a photo op, and we got to ask for something. Now, asking for something don't mean you got to go there and tear up the place and get arrested and protest and stick up your finger and say bad, nice, bad things and all other stuff. My question is that, now, let's say you figure you have to do that, but don't go to that first. Let's organize and sit down and have a nice conversation with somebody first before we get to that point. You know what I'm saying? You see, it's just like in law enforcement, I talk to these cops, look, if you get to a situation and you pull your gun out, the only thing left for you to do is pull the trigger. That's because you got it up here now. You know what I mean? So it's just that you want to bring things down, not take them up. You see what I'm saying? That's what you want to do. You want to bring things down. And so, what individuals, some individuals will do, they'll take things up so far, and then what happens is now you have nowhere else where to go. So go there and act nice, and then we'll go from there. But anyway, call this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Do I have you there?
Hello?
Yeah, I got you now. All right, I'm listening.
Yeah, I've been. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Yeah, turn your radio down.
That's what I just did.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Uh-huh.
I'm trying to say to you that, I hear a lot that you're saying, and as far as going up to the legislature, I've lived in Raleigh for 40, 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back here in Fayetteville now, taking care of my mother. And I don't see much change in Fayetteville. You're talking about people doing this or not doing that. Okay? It's a lot of people here that's been on the farm, and they ain't got off the farm. They just don't know they're not off the farm. You see, it's that same thing, that old Django and Chain thing, the guy that was on the master's side. And when I was coming up here in Fayetteville as a little boy, I remember seeing people get slapped down, knocked down, whatever, drug out, and and then they blame their own people for what was wrong to them. And it's continuing right now. This whole sellout thing, people don't want to accept that. Some people be saying a whole lot of stuff, but they're not saying a whole lot of stuff that helps black folk. If you look around in Fayetteville, the changes over these years and everything. Okay, I was born on Belt Boulevard. And I've seen them tear stuff down, but I ain't seen them build nothing back up over there. As far as for black folk.
Yeah, they took that property and built PWC, didn't they?
That's right. They gave it to the white folk. Yeah. And I'm saying to you is that we, and we keep right on acting like, oh, we helping you out. No, you're not. You're not helping us out. When I moved up there to Raleigh, me, my brothers, and my sister, Raleigh was a small one-horse town. Now look at Raleigh now. Now turn around, from back in the 70s, and look at Fayetteville now. And I'm not saying Fayetteville is totally gone, but I'm saying to you that we need to stop talking about what we're going to do and start doing stuff. That's what I'm saying. We got to start doing stuff. And I still have a home there now. And it's like, to me, okay, like one last thing is like to me, like when drinking poison water here. And everybody seems like they're scared to actually stand up and say, look, you can't poison me and my children like this. Because those, the DuPonts and whoever got all that money. Well, all these so-called soldiers and people that was, that was what do you call it, a policeman and all this right here that protect the situation for out here. Your children are still having to drink poison water. But we'll protect that. But we won't go out here and talk about how we can't have our children being poisoned. Something ain't right. We got a whole lot of Stevens around here. You know what Steven was in Django Unchained.
Right.
If you ever watch that show, a lot of us need to understand that. We got a lot of Stevens here. And that's why we're stuck. And we're going to be stuck. And everybody ain't got a whole lot of money. Like everybody trying to talk like, well, what you got this in and what you ain't got there. Everybody ain't going to have it like that because they ain't where God got to lay it out yet. And y'all be blessed, okay?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, there are people that are moving away, and like this caller here, and they're coming back, doing a variety of things, of course. And but like I said, though, when you talk about moving forward, I think you need to do it incrementally. If you want to bring about change, you don't go and be confrontational in the beginning. You go and you try and get something done, bring logic to the table and say, hey, look, I think we need to do this in this manner, X, Y, and Z. If that doesn't work, then you go back and you take a different approach. But when you come in with a hammer, you know, if you go to work every day with a hammer, then the only thing you're going to do is hit something. So that's my whole thing right there. I'm just saying is that, because I know there are people that think they are getting things done, but, you know, based on what I'm seeing, I haven't seen them get anything done. All I see them do is create a lot of ruckus, and they try to boast about what they're doing. We doing this and we doing that, and coming and we're going to have this, and we're going to get this kind of person elected, and all those other kind of things. All that stuff, you know, it sounds good. You can talk that talk, but, you know, you need to walk the walk. I mean, show me some evidence of something that you have been able to accomplish. What did you get done? And in many instances, that is zero. Nothing. You know? I'm going to have to pick on my producer this morning. I said he got his shirt on. He wears his Dallas Cowboys shirt. I'm not giving you a hard time, Reverend Carl, but producer, that Reverend Carl is a big-time Cowboy fan. Look, in all seriousness, I got all that. But look, it's been a minute since y'all have even been to the NFC game, man. Come on, it just, at some point, you need to have some results, sir. Now, I'm just using that metaphorically to talk about engaging in our community and doing things, but it's the same story, Rev. I mean, at some point, you know, you can talk all you want to. He said, this is the year. Look, it may be, I've seen things that say it would be the year, and I've seen things that say it would be the year. Like I said, you know, this one guy was saying, he was going down game by game. He said, we're going to be 17-0. I said, nah, that's a stretch there now. I don't know about that. I don't believe anybody's going to be 17-0. I think that's going to be hard to do. It's a lot of parity in professional sports now. But when it comes to winning for the community, it's like this right here. And I believe it's this Canadian motivational speaker I'm talking about. I believe he's the one that said this. He said, look, man, you got two kinds of things out here. You got the fun and the easy, and you got the hard and the necessary. Anybody can do the fun and the easy. But very few people are going to be able to do the hard and the necessary. Now, when it comes to leadership, the majority of the people are not visionaries. They don't see it. You see, visionaries see things in their heads. They can see it. They can walk down the street and they can see, oh man, one day this is going to look like this right here. That's what they have in their mind, and they can push themselves forward to that. If I go biblical with you, it's like what God showed Moses. But the people didn't see it. You see what I'm saying? They didn't see it. So they were affected by what they had to deal with on a daily basis. And I believe that that's the vacuum of leadership that we have here. We have some visionaries, but a lot of people can't see it. So when it comes to the positive aspects of a lot of things that happen in our community, to include data centers, you have people that can't see that. They're not visionaries. They can't see it. And so they're going to be against anything that they can't see. They're just going to be, hey, look, ain't no way I'm going to be for this, because they're going to be anti this. And I'm just saying that's what happens. Hey, look, they're not going to be for something, sir. They're going to be against it. And not just a little bit against it, they're going to be a whole lot against it, because they can't see it. Now, mind you, again, Moses trying to get an enslaved-minded people out of Egypt, across the wilderness, to the promised land. Something that should have took them, if they were traveling and going in a straight direction, about 2 weeks. No more than a month. But they went round and round in a circle, brother. for 40 years. Am I right about it? I mean, you scripture readers now, I mean, they went round and round. And you see, and that's what we wind up doing to ourselves. We wind up going round and round and round. And like the caller was talking about, look, you have to give a man credit because he's right. What we do, we wind up going round and round in circles. Just like those folk out there stuck in the wilderness. What do we get done, Rev? When we just go round and round in circles. I believe that was one of them songs, R&B songs by Billy Preston back in the day. We go round in circles. Right. I'm just saying, it just, at some point, man, this stuff has to make sense. It just does. I mean, it's really not funny, but not funny, laughable, but in a sense, it's funny because we just don't get it. So, yeah, I'm waiting to see what we're going to do. For the folk out there that say, hey, look, man, the boogeyman is coming, and all of those things are going to get you. They're going to continue to tell you that, and you're not going to win. No, you're not going to win. So, but that's where we are. And, we continue to do stuff like that, and it's all good. And like I say, look, I can accept and appreciate anyone having a difference of opinion, but we don't have to kill each other in the midst of this and try and tear each other down and tear each other up. We don't. That's not, Look, I ain't mad at you because you don't see things the way I do, right? And I hope you're not angry at anybody else because they don't see things the way you do. You know what I mean? One thing that they say that is important in this world is to have different kinds of people on your team. If everybody on your team thinks the same way, it's going to be problematic. It's going to be troublesome. But I mean, that's where it is there. So this other preacher just walked in, y'all. He don't have on any of his athletic stuff today. You know what I mean? And I saw that hat, but you just, I mean, he don't know what he wants to be. He got a Yankee hat on, and a New York's Knicks, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. He needs to stay in the same state at least. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm messing with you. Walked in here, so I'm messing with you. Baseball? Yeah. Dodgers. That's not in Las Vegas. They were all in California at one time. They moved. They moved. It was all California at one time, okay? So I like the Dodgers and the Rams and the Lakers. I grew up liking all those. Yeah. LA Rams. So you like 2 football teams? No, I say I grew up liking them. But once I became conscious of who I am and who I need to stand for, I said, I need to be a Raider. They hit hard. And yeah, there we go. They're on the wild side. That's it. I confess. True confession is good for the soul. I confess. Yes. They're on the wild side, and I like that, okay? I don't know why, but I gravitated towards that, Reb. Look here, guys. Got to get out of here. On Thursday, we should be back with Mayor COVID, and we have a guest on that show, so I think you all are going to enjoy that. Tune in with us. We look forward to that. Hope that you have a great day on today. It's supposed to be a high of 87, man, 89, something like that. So another great day for you. So it's not going to be extremely hot. But remember, you're too blessed to be depressed, too anointed to be disappointed.